parking lot, strip mall on Central South Valley side. Day one of a Thursday night domestic. Cold coffee in the cup holder. Long lens on the passenger seat under a fleece jacket. Nothing happening yet. Client's name was Linda Cisneros. Referral from a family law attorney I've done work for since 2018. Husband Ray was supposedly bowling at Silva Lanes every Thursday night. League play. Except he was getting home at 1 in the morning smelling like a bar that wasn't attached to a bowling alley. Linda wanted documentation for the divorce filing. Standard domestic. I quoted 3 Thursdays of surveillance. I drove the route on a Tuesday to pick my spot. Strip mall across Central from Silva Lanes, decent sight lines to the entrance. 3 storefronts closed. Payday loan place on the east end still running its neon. Laundromat on the west end with fluorescent tubes buzzing all night. Between them, a bus shelter. ABQ ride. No bench, no schedule board. Just a metal post with a peeling transit sticker and a plexiglass panel cracked down the middle. I'd later confirm with the city that the route was discontinued in October 2017. Nobody had any reason to stand there. First Thursday, March 7th. I pulled in at 6:30 p.m. and backed the Camry into a spot facing Central. Engine off. Adjusted the Z5 on the beanbag rest against the steering wheel. Checked the mirrors. Checked them again. That's just what I do. 19 years of sitting in cars teaches you that. The air was dry and cold, 47 degrees. In Albuquerque in March, you can smell everything. Green chila from the taqueria 2 doors down. Dust off the vacant lot to the south. Cottonwood pollen settling on the windshield. A BNSF freight train rolled through on the main line a 1/4 mile south and the strip mall windows rattled. Then silence. Then the scanner picking up a call in the North Valley. Then silence again. Subject entered Silva Lanes at 7:12 p.m. I got 14 frames of him walking from his truck to the door. Blue F-150, plate confirmed. Bowling bag, Wranglers, same boots, Linda described. He didn't look around. People who are being honest don't look around. People who are lying check every car in the lot. Ray didn't check. That told me the affair, if there was one, wasn't happening at the bowling alley. I settled in. Dashboard clock said 7:14. Scanner down to a murmur. Window cracked an inch. I started the log. Time, conditions, observations. Every 6 minutes I scanned the mirrors and the lot and the entrance. The strip mall parking lot light was on a dead motion sensor. So I sat in the dark with the laundromat glow to my left and the payday loan neon to my right. Ray exited Silva Lanes at 10:48 p.m. Alone. Got in the truck, headed west on Central, turned south on Bridge. I followed at 3 cars. He parked at a place called Tap House. Walked in, sat at a booth with a woman. Brunette, mid-30s, already had a drink. I got shots through the front window. 32 frames, clean. I drove back to the strip mall lot to write up the notes. Engine off, laptop open on the center console. I pulled the SD card and started reviewing the night's take. 146 photos total. The establishing shots of the lot, the entrance coverage, the tail, the bar. That's when I noticed something. In the establishing shots, the wide frames of the strip mall and the bowling alley, there was a shape near the bus shelter. I didn't zoom in. From the thumbnail, it could have been anything. A transient, a shadow from the laundromat fluorescence hitting the plexiglass at an angle. Lens flare from the payday loan neon. I was tired. I'd been in the car since 6:30, and it was nearly midnight, and the heater was off because running the engine draws attention. My hands were stiff from the cold. I closed the laptop, filed the first Thursday as routine. Subject confirmed at the bowling alley, confirmed at the bar with an unidentified female, departed bar at 12:20 a.m. Photos attached. Mileage logged. 2 more Thursdays to build the pattern. I drove home on Central with the windows down because the cold keeps me alert. I remember the cottonwood trees along the irrigation ditch looked like bones in the headlights. I remember the strip mall getting smaller in the rearview mirror. I don't remember if I looked at the bus shelter as I pulled out. I should have looked at the bus shelter. Second Thursday, March 14th. Same spot, same time. Camry backed in at 6:25. Laundromat buzzing. Payday loan neon bleeding pink across the asphalt. Bus shelter empty, as far as I could tell without the lens. Ray followed the pattern. Silva Lanes at 7:09, out at 10:51. Truck to bridge, tap house, same booth, same woman. Another 140 frames. Filed the tail, drove back to write up notes. Laptop open, SD card in. Thumbnails loading. This is where it gets difficult to describe in a way that sounds rational. I was scrolling through the establishing shots, wide-angle coverage of the lot and the bowling alley entrance. Background documentation for depositions. Standard practice. The figure was at the bus shelter again. Not a transient this time, not a shadow, a person. Standing at the post where the schedule board used to be, hands at their sides, facing the camera. I could see the posture clearly in the 70 to 200 compression. Straight back, arms down, head level, like someone posing for an ID photo. I checked the timestamp on the first frame that showed the figure. 7:18 p.m. Then I scrolled forward to the last batch of the night. The shots I took of Ray exiting Silva Lanes. 11:15 p.m. The figure was still there, same position, hands at sides, facing the camera. 4 hours in the same pose at a bus stop that hasn't had a bus since 2017. I went back to the first Thursday's photos, opened the folder, scrolled to the establishing shots, the shape I'd dismissed as a transient or lens flare. I zoomed in, same figure. Same posture, same position at the bus shelter, hands at sides, facing the camera. The next morning I drove out in daylight. Saturday, 10 a.m. The shelter was nothing. A metal post, cracked plexiglass, a concrete pad with weeds, no bench. The ABQ ride sticker sun-bleached to white. I checked for cigarette butts, footprints, dust undisturbed. Third Thursday, March 21st, I changed my approach. I arrived at 5:45 p.m., backed into the same spot. Before touching the surveillance lens, I pointed the Z5 at the bus shelter and took a single frame. Checked the screen, empty, good. This time I didn't just cover the bowling alley. Every 10 minutes, I swung the lens to the bus shelter and fired 3 frames. Systematic, like working a second case inside the first. Ray arrived at 7:12. I covered him going in, swung to the bus shelter, 7:14 p.m. The figure was there. It hadn't been there at 5:45. I hadn't seen anyone walk to the shelter. I'd been watching the lot. I kept shooting. Every 10 minutes. The figure didn't move, didn't shift weight. Temperature dropping, 43 degrees by 10 p.m., and the figure stood there with no jacket, hands at its sides, face toward my car. 438 photos across 3 Thursdays. That number is in my log. After Ray left for the tap house on the third Thursday, I didn't follow. I stayed in the lot. I opened the laptop and pulled every photo with the bus shelter visible. Cropped the figure from each frame, arranged them chronologically in a grid on the screen. You know what I thought I'd find? I thought I'd find a homeless person who'd adopted the shelter. I thought I'd find a pattern. Arrives at dusk, leaves at dawn. Something explainable. Something I could put in a footnote and forget. What I found was this. In the first photo from March 7th, the figure was standing at the shelter post, approximately 60 feet from my car. In the photos from March 14th, same position, but no, not the same position. The figure was at about 40 feet, closer by 20 feet. There were no intermediate frames showing it walking. It was at 60, and then it was at 40. I scrolled to the March 21st photos. The early frames had it at about 30 feet, then 20, then 15. each photo a little closer. Not between photos, I never saw it move, but the photos said it moved. Every frame, a foot or two nearer. I stopped scrolling at photo 437. The figure was at maybe 5 feet from the car. I could see the outline of clothing. Dark jacket, dark pants, no visible features above the collar. The area where a face should be was bright, overexposed, like the camera had picked up a light source that wasn't there. I didn't open photo 438 that night. I closed the laptop. I sat in the dark for a while. The laundromat fluorescence hummed. A freight train went through, and the windows shook. Then I drove home. I opened photo 438 on a Saturday morning. Kitchen table, coffee still hot, daylight through the blinds. I wanted normal conditions, overhead light, birdsong, the neighbor's sprinkler hitting the fence, every anchor to rational thinking I could get. Photo 438, 11:47 p.m., March 21st. Ray in the foreground, mid-stride toward his truck. Standard exit documentation. In the background, behind my car, 3 feet from the driver's side window, the figure. It wasn't at the bus shelter anymore. It was behind the Camry, 3 feet from the driver's side window. I was in that car when I took the photo, looking through the viewfinder at Ray walking to his truck. The figure was 3 feet from my window, and I did not see it. The window was cracked an inch. I would have heard footsteps on the asphalt. There were no footsteps. I zoomed in. Dark jacket, dark pants, no logos, no texture, despite the 7200 pulling plenty of light. And the face. There was no face, not obscured, not turned away. The area above the collar was pure white, blown out. The camera sensor had registered a light source coming from the skin itself. I checked the histogram on the raw file, clipping at every channel. Red, green, blue, all maxed. Not reflected light. Emitted light. I ran the raw through Lightroom, pulled exposure down 4 stops. The jacket resolved to navy, the pants to black, the hands pale, hanging at the sides. The face stayed white. 4 stops of recovery, and it was still a flat, featureless light source shaped like a human head. I closed the laptop. I sat at my kitchen table and listened to the sprinkler and thought about what a reasonable person would do. Delete the photos, blame sensor bloom, move on. I finished the Cisneros case. Sent Linda the report. Ray at the tap house, unidentified female, 3 Thursdays documented. Invoice paid, case closed. The photos with the figure were not in the report. I deleted them from the working folder, but I'd already synced to my backup drive out of habit. A week later, I drove back to Central. Told myself I was going to a tire shop. That was a lie. I parked in the strip mall lot, same spot, 7:30 p.m., laundromat buzzing, payday neon bleeding pink, bus shelter empty. I sat for an hour. Nothing. Nobody. A dead bus shelter on a dead route. I took 1 photo, checked it on the camera screen, empty, drove home. At home, I plugged the camera into the laptop, opened the image. The figure was in the frame, behind the car, closer than photo 438. The white where the face should be was brighter, brighter than the laundromat, brighter than the neon, the brightest point in the image by a factor of 3. The hands were not at its sides anymore. They were raised, palms forward, like someone pressing against glass from the other side. Pant. I ejected the SD card, put it in the desk drawer, closed the laptop, sat in my apartment and listened to a freight train rattle the kitchen window and did not open the laptop again. I sold the Z5 to a shop on San Mateo for $600 cash. Told them the sensor had issues. They didn't ask what kind. Took a skip trace job in Las Cruces the following week. 3 days downstate. I needed to be somewhere that wasn't Central Avenue. I haven't been back to that strip mall. The SD card is still in the drawer. I think about it sometimes, lying in bed at 2 a.m. when the insomnia is bad. I think about the figure at the bus shelter, how it moved between photos but never during them, the white where the face should be. Mostly, I think about photo 438, 3 feet from my window. I was in the car and I did not see it, and the camera did. I don't know what that means.